Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Sam Cole, the second race of the 1983 Thunderbolt campaign. And, Sam, this race is a lot unlike what we had a couple of weeks ago in the season opener. And the engines, the size of the course, everything is different.
That it is, Jim, but it's been a very frustrating week here in the pit area. A lot of mechanical problems. This morning we lost the Rich Plan Food Service, our last winner at the Missouri Governor's Cup race. It's been a very, very frustrating week mechanically for these Thunderbolt crews, and I just hope they've got everything back together for a good race here today.
Well, you know, it's cool water at Lake of the Ozarks. Now they come in high humidity. The carburetors act a little differently. But also this course, instead of a 2.5-mile course where they can stretch out in the straightaways, they're going to be turning that boat constantly on the smallest course we race on.
That's right. You know, here in beautiful Miami, it's a heck of a city. It's a heck of a race course. It's the shortest race course we run on all year. But the boats and the drivers, they really seem to enjoy it here. Tighter turns, shorter straightaways. It usually makes for a heck of a boat race.
A 1 2/3 course, the smallest they'll race on all year, and we'll have the first heat of action in just a moment. We're about to start the first heat of action here at Marine Stadium in Miami with the beautiful skyline of this great city in the background from our stadium view, and we're right on the water's edge. And for the starting lineup of Heat 1A, here's Sam Cole.
Okay, Jim, we've got the U2. That's the Squire Shop, driven by Earl Hall, 26-year-old rookie out of Hampton, Virginia. The boat's owned by Bob Style and sponsored by the Squire Shop stores out of Seattle. We have the U3, the Miss Renault. The driver, Milner Irvin out of Coral Gables, Florida. The boat is yellow and black. It's its first race, and it's owned by Jerry Shaneth. The U12, the Miss Budweiser. Driver, Jim Kropfeld. Red, white, and gold, owned by the winningest owner in hydroplane history, Bernie Little. And the U40, the American Speedy Printing Special, driven by Fred Leland, owned by Bob Taylor, and it is white, yellow, and orange. Those are our first 4 boats for the action here today, Jim.
The 1-minute gun has fired as the boats now go up to our left to the western end of the course in corners number 3 and 4. There leading up is Earl Hall in the Squire Shop. He leads the pack up there, followed by Budweiser, who wants lane 1, the Renault, and the American Speedy Printing. They're all bunched up there now, and they'll come down here in the flying start as the clock continues to wind down in the running start. Squire Shop will take it wide. Lane 1 will be Miss Budweiser. Slot number 2 will be the American Speedy Printing. Slot 3 will be taken by the Renault, and on the outside is the Squire Shop. You'll hear the tremendous roar as we are very close to the boats as they come down for the start.
Jim, and it's Fred Leland in the American Speedy, the Renault, and the Squire Shop, 1, 2, and 3. But here comes Jimmy Kropfeld in the Miss Budweiser.
He's up on the inside, Sam, as he hangs it on the hook there in corner number 1, and it'll be the short way around the course, and that's the rooster tail of your lead boat right now, Jim Kropfeld. But look at the Squire Shop come right on the side, and it's going to be a dogfight down the back sheet, Sam.
Rookie Earl Hall coming out of there in the Bob Style Squire Shop. Jim Kropfeld and the Miss Budweiser up the backstretch, but right now it's Earl Hall in the Squire Shop, our leader. Here comes Jim Kropfeld about a half a boat length away.
And he pulls him even and then goes past him as they come down the corner number 3 for the first time. It'll be 5 times around this 1 2/3 course. And on the inside, you can see him hanging on the hook. You get that second rooster tail off that skid fin that keeps him from spinning out. But again, coming wide out of the spray is the Squire Shop. And he's giving him plenty of room right now. And Kropfeld will now take a slight lead because of that wide turn as they come down here now to complete lap number 1.
Comes Earl Hall again, Jim. He hooked the boat just a little bit as they came out of that turn, but Jim Kropfeld slowed way down. Earl Hall's back in the front in Bob Style Squire Shop.
Speedy Printing is 3rd, and the Renault is now 4th as they come down now to completion of lap number 1. They're all on lap number 2 of 5. And there is our leader, Jim Kropfeld in Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser. Kropfeld from Cincinnati, Ohio. The crew and the boat based in Seattle, and Bernie Little from Lakeland, Florida. They are really spread out over the country. And now while he has a lead up in his rooster tail, once again, here comes the rookie, Earl Hall. You'll just see him coming up there on the side. He's hidden there a little bit by the Budweiser rooster tail. And they're just about side by side right now as they come down to corner number 3 again. What a show these fans are getting on this 1 2/3, and it's the Squire Shop with Earl Hall taking over the lead from Kropfeld as they come toward us to complete lap number 2.
102 miles an hour for Jim Kropfeld on lap number 1. Hall holds the course records here for limited hydroplane racing, and Jimmy Kropfeld is the world record holder here, and they're side by side here. There's our leader, Jim. Earl Hall's back up on top in the Squire Shop right now, going down into there.
He's in lane number 2, taking this 1 2/3 course a little wide, while the Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld hangs on the hook inside. The Speedy Printing is 3rd, and the Miss Renault is 4th. as we now have 3 laps to go.
And as they go through there, Jim Kropfeld has things going his way. He has the inside track, but here comes Mr. Hall up on the outside. We got a heck of a race going here, Mr. Hendrick.
And the speeds will not be as fast as usual because this, as we said at the opening of the program, is our smallest course. They can't get the long straightaway speeds up. As soon as they get near the top end, they have to start slowing down the turn again because the water, of course, is not banked. And these boats do not turn like the average speedboat. They turn flat. The only thing that holds them in is the skid fin on the left side. If that lets go, it's bye-bye birdie. Now almost side by side at the apex of corners number 3 and 4. They come around and complete lap number 3 with 2 more to go as they spin out. Off that corner, they'll come on down and complete lap number 3. And once again, the boat on your left, or make it your right, is the Miss Budweiser, their cheerleader. Look at the Squire Shop once again, Sam. Give it chase.
Here comes Earl Hall. Their lap speed that time, 104 miles an hour on number 2. Hall doing one heck of a job in Bob Stiles' boat. Jimmy Kropfeld, though, keeps him out on his hip. Our third place boat, by the way, is the American Speedy Printing boat as he goes down the main stretch. And Fred Leland made a last-minute qualifying effort yesterday afternoon, 10 minutes before the course closed, and got in the race. But right now, here's Mr. Kropfeld in Bernie Little's beer wagon.
As he comes off of corner number 2, side by side, moving up again. What a dogfight. Let's see who's got the acceleration. They'll put down the nitrous oxide button, which spits some instant juice into those engines, and they'll get up on the straightaway at about a half a boat length lead right now for the Squire Shop as they come in the corner number 3. And they should come around to take the green flag, signifying one more lap, and we might have a drag race off that number 4 pin, Sam Cole, in the final lap.
Right you are. The green flag is flying. Everyone was legal at the start. Kropfeld on the inside. Hall's running a wider track. He's staying outside, but he brought it in a little closer that time. And as they come across here, Jim, they're going to be dead even. And Earl Hall takes the lead once again here by about 2 boat lengths as they head down into that first turn. Their speed to last lap, 102.990 miles an hour. And we're down to 3 on the inside. Here comes Mr. Hall.
And we're down to 3 boats, and Miss Renault has returned to the pits on that last lap, so the American Speedy Printing currently is riding in number 3 spot. As he comes by, there he is, the roar of his engines as he comes about 20 feet from us. And now, side by side, with 3/4 of a lap to go, here it is, the Squire Shop on the outside with a slight lead over Miss Budweiser. The boat on your left, the Squire Shop. Now moving up on the inside, Jim Kropfeld, and he really pours the coals to it. He must have been playing cat and mouse. He is really honking down that straightaway now, and now he's going to have to hold it, hanging on the hook, in tight on lane number 1. Look at that rooster tail of water. Tons of water coming off of that left sponson, and Kropfeld knows the checkered flag is waiting. 400 points, which will give him a leg up on making this final in the Champions Park Regatta. And coming down toward the stand to take the checker flag is the winner of Heat 1A, Miss Budweiser.
Second place will go to Earl Hall in the Squire Shop, and third will be Fred Leland in the American Speedy Printing. And you know, Kropfeld showed some experience there. He cut out in front of Hall as they come through there and made him go way wide, and that was what won the race for the Miss Budweiser there.
They're both fine limited drivers. They're going to develop fine in the unlimited department as our third place boat comes down now, and he'll take the checker flag. Sam, that is him, the American Speedy Printing, but Fred Leland minus his horizontal stabilizer, which he lost.
That's right, and as it goes by here, everyone, you got a good look at the state of Texas up on the front of that boat, owned by Bob Taylor out of Houston, Texas.
Now, the final order finish, if you will, Sam.
The Miss Budweiser and Jim Kropfeld, they'll get 400 points. Second place, the Squire Shop and Earl Hall, they'll get 300 points. And in third, it's the American Speedy Printing Special and Fred Leland, 225 points. The Miss Renault will not finish.
Here's the Atlas van lines coming across our screen right now. And Sam, bring us the lineup for this heat of action.
Okay, Jim, you mentioned the Atlas van lines. That's the U1, the blue and white boat, the defending national champion, owned by Fran Muncy and Jim Lucero, driven by Chip Hanauer. We have the U8, the Executone out of Seattle, Washington, driver George Johnson, sponsored by Executone. It too is a blue and white boat. The third blue and white boat in this heat is the U10. That's the Miss Pure Delight, driven by Bobby Howard out of Cape Coral, Florida. And our fourth boat, the Miss Tosti Asti, red, white, and green, owned by Jim Saddam, driven by Todd Yarling.
The boats are now circling exactly right in front of the stadium. They're going up the back straightaway. Leading the way is the Pure Delight with Bobby Howard out of the Cape Coral, Florida area, followed up there by George Johnson, Executone, the Tosti Asti, and coming up way late. But he'll be there, I'm sure, when the start of this race goes on, is the Atlas Van Lines with Chip Hanauer. It'll be a 4-boat start in the flying. We have exactly 22 seconds to the start of this race. They cannot jump the clock. If they do, they're penalized an extra lap, so timing is all important. As we look to our left, the skyline of Miami, shows us current turns number 3 and 4. They're coming down toward us now for the all-important start of this race. And it's still going to be 5 seconds to go. Bobby Howard is going to look like he's going to get the best start unless he can jump it. He better slow back off. Bobby Howard, I believe, jumped the clock. Here comes the Atlas Van line. And the Executive. Now all our boats are down the corner number 1. The question we have right now, did Bobby Howard in the Pure Delight jump the clock? And from our vantage point, unofficially, we would have to say yes, he was just slightly early. And now our lead boat is swinging way wide, hooking just a little bit, shaking loose, coming down the straightaway. It is going to be our leader, Chip Hanauer, in the Atlas Van line. Sam?
Chip down in that first turn. Todd Yarling hooked and spun this Tosti. He's got it back on plane though right now. Chip Hanauer's way out in front here of everybody else. From our vantage point, you know, it looked like Mr. Howard was right on the money. He did a good job, but he put it on there. It looked like it was on the money. Hanauer came up behind him and took the lead midway down the straightaway, and it looks like Chip Hanauer is going to have everything his way.
No doubt about it, if he can just keep it going in the engine housing as he comes down here, riding very low in the front of the Atlas Van line.
All distorted there, Jim. In testing on Friday afternoon, the deck blew off the boat. They worked for 24 hours straight and rebuilt the boat from all the damages and everything, and it's just a miracle that Chip Hanauer's out here today. And Bobby Howard's crew, as we've seen here, he also had a lot of damage earlier this week when his boat hooked and spun, and he lost a lot of stuff. But he's got it out here today. It's been a very tough week, but both of these teams have put it together, and they're in the show here today.
This boat is here. We're looking at the Atlas Van Lines having 3 straight heat problems in our first race of the year. Has not 1 point yet, and they are the defending national champion. They would like to win this race. This was one of the few races they did not win last year. Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser captured this champion spark plug regatta. But right now, looking for his first points of the year after a disastrous start with a lot of mechanical problems. Here's our leader here at Heat 1B, the Atlas Van Lines, Chip Hanauer, out of the greater Seattle area. As he comes in close, and look at that, we take our cameras right in the cockpit.
As he does that, he just puts a lap on Todd Yarling and the Tosti, who got a little bit shaken up down there in the turn a little bit earlier on the first lap when he went down there and hooked the boat. So our leader is Atlas Van Lines. Right now, second place will be the Pure Delight, third the Executone, and the Tosti in fourth place.
And of course, that will all depend on whether they decide whether he jumped the clock or not, because that would move Bobby Howard from the Pure Delight out of second place back to fourth. And there he comes right close to shore. And we're only about 20 feet from the boat. From time to time, you will not be able to hear us because the engines of these aircraft engines will just run us right out. The Tosti, this is young man Todd Yarling from the Madison, Indiana area, getting his feet wet for the second time this year. Speaking of Bobby Howard, who is, of course, a driver for the Captran Resort Special a couple of years ago. He's back with his own boat. He and his wife Marlene are the owners of that boat. I understand you had a chance to talk to Bobby Howard, Sam Cole, earlier today before the race. Let's go to that conversation.
Bobby, you had some problems. You had a near accident during qualifications here, but I understand it was purely delightful that you got the boat all fixed and she'll be in the race today.
Oh yeah, we're all set. Boys worked all night to get the boat ready. Went into a turn a little bit too hard. I hooked the Miss Pure Delight and tore the deck up, but we're ready to go. We're running strong, and we're very excited. This is our course. We've raced it for many years, and we're ready.
As the only all-Florida team in today's race, I know there's going to be a lot of fans cheering for you.
Oh yeah, we're expecting a couple busloads of folks coming down to see the Miss Pure Delight run, and we're very excited. Beautiful race course, beautiful day. It's going to be super.
That was a conversation earlier with Bobby Howard, who is now currently running second in the Pure Delight. We had official word, Sam Coe. You did say that all starters were legal. From our angle, it was a question mark, but the officials, of course, on the job.
That's right. Here's Bobby Howard. He's in second place right now as he goes up the backstretch. As we said, Chip Hanauer and the Atlas Van Lines will score their first points on the 1983 Thunderbolt World Series Tour. He'll pick up 400 points if he can get it around here to the finish line.
And he's now in corner number 3 to come around the checker flag, and this heat will be history. One of our boats has dropped out, and that is George Johnson in the Executone down there in corners number 1 and 2. He was currently running third. Now Todd Yarling and Tosti will take over in third place. Here's our leader, the winner of Heat 1B, and picking up the first points of the year, 400 points for the Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer, defending national champion. just going for a Sunday ride. Not a lot of competition going on.
Our final order of finish there, Jim, will be the Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer with 400 points. Second place will go to the Miss Pure Delight and Bobby Howard. And third place will go to Todd Yarling and the Miss Tosti Asti, while the Executone and George Johnson did not finish, but they'll be back later in the day.
Second appearance of preliminary heats for our Unlimited Thunderboats today. It reminds us that one of our top boats is missing here on our production from ESPN's Champion Sparkplug Regatta. A boat that won the inaugural, the Rich Plan Food Service with Ron Snyder, was damaged in a pre-race run. And the unhappy driver was standing by with Sam Cole, and they talked about that prior to race time today.
In our ESPN Series opener from Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, Ron Snyder was the happiest man in the state as he stood in the winner's circle after capturing the Missouri Governor's Cup Regatta. Today, he's got to be the saddest man in the state of Florida. Some misfortune out there this morning, Ron.
Sam, we went out for the last time this morning to do some testing. We've been dialing it in, as you can see. We've been on the water 3 times this morning, and we finally thought we had it dialed in, so we wanted to go out and make sure. Well, to behold all of us, we lost a blade off of our prop, and which in turn just knocked everything so far out of balance it took the bottom of the boat, gearbox, master switch, and the firewall right through the cockpit. So it looks like we're done and for today, all day, and it looks like we're done for New York too.
Ron, you talk about terms like at the firewall, the rudder, and those type of things. Those are very naive terms to our fans at home who are watching Thunderboat racing. Explain what happens when a propeller breaks to a boat.
Well, what it does, it just throws everything so far off balance. We had a 2-bladed prop on, so we lost one blade, so that meant just one blade was on there. And if you know the mathematics about that, it just went violently into a vibration, which bent the end of the shaft. And then when the shaft got bent, my foot was coming off the accelerator. I felt it coming, but I didn't get it off soon enough, and that quick, or that instant, everything went. It just tore the strut off the bottom of the boat and pulled the bottom of the boat with it, part of it. And again, that's all tied onto the gearbox through the shaft, and it just ripped the gearbox right off the motor and broke it in quite a few pieces. And then turned that, hit the firewall, which is between me and the motor, and it knocked that out, which the master switch is sitting right on the inside of that, which controls everything in the boat. I couldn't shut it off, really.
Well, what about a driver like Ron Snyder? You're very competitive by nature. I know you have to get yourself into a race day psych, so to speak, and when something like that happens, how do you cope with it?
Well, it's, the first feeling of sadness was that we're out of the race, and I feel sorry for the crew because the 2 of them were still down here last night quite late. We thought we was having fuel problems itself, so they stayed here waiting on some fresh fuel to make sure we got it. And they got to work on it, and I feel sorry for them because it's going to take a lot of work to put us back into the race again.
Well, Ron, I know we'll see you back this year, hopefully in the winner's circle again here on ESPN.
We'll guarantee it once we get it running again, Jim.
A fierce competitor, and of course he will not be in action today, but he will be heard from before the 1983 Thunderboat season is over, to be sure. It takes all kinds, but here at Marine City, here at Marine Stadium, I should say, we've got all types of fans, and I don't know what kind of brew that is, but if Bernie Little had anything to say about it, it would be filled with Bud. Speaking of action, less than 1 minute to go to Heat 2A. The Atlas Van Lines, the Squire Shop, and Miss Tosti Asti all on the course. Miss Renault, with the driver Milner Irwin, did not answer the starting 1 minute gun and has been disqualified. They had their problems earlier when he returned to the pits after lap number 3. So the boats are now coming down the back chute, and there's the 2 favorites would be the blue boat, the Atlas Van Lines, and the red over cab there, the red cab over I should say, was the Squire Shop as they come down the corner number 3 and catch up to Todd Yarling in the Tosti Asti, who is just taking his time now, coming off of corners number 3 over to corner number 4. We have about 10 seconds to the start of this race. As the clock continues to roll, the white flag is up. On the inside, to your right, the blue and white, the blue bomber of the Atlas Van Lines with Chip Hanauer. The boat on your left, the red and white Squire Shop, driven by the rookie Earl Hall. There's the gun, and here's the start. And it is the Atlas Van Lines giving chase now as they go down to corner number 1. It was the Squire Shop on top at the outset. Sam Cole.
Chip Hanauer had it wired there, and so did Earl Hall as they came down there. They both sped up the backstretch, but then slowed down going into that upper turn. For the start, they came down. They were both right on the money. And right now, Mr. Chip Hanauer's on the inside in the Atlas, but here comes Earl Hall again, Jim.
Earl Hall seems to be riding the best we've seen him do all season, and he now just pulls a little bit ahead of the Atlas Van Lines as they come down the back chute here in Heat 2A.
Hanauer's had an amazing week here, and he's getting everything his money's worth right now as they go up on the inside. Earl Hall, a rookie out of Hampton, Virginia, and Chip Hanauer both grew up in limited class racing, and they raced here on this stadium in 7-liter boats a year and a half ago. Right now, as they come out of turn number 4 and head down here, Hanauer has the inside track, the faster track, but Hall is sliding the Squire Shop way wide to keep up the RPMs.
And here they come down the complete lap number 1. Almost side by side. Boy, what a dogfight this is going to be. 2 top boats now. And remember, 400 points for first place, 300 points for second, 225 points for third. And after they race twice, and they will, of course, accumulate all the points. And the top 5 point getters. Here's your Tostiasti currently running third with the rookie Todd Yarling out of Madison. He's getting the rough ride. He's having trouble steering that boat today, Sam.
That's right, he is. Right now, Yarling comes down here to complete his first lap here in this heat in Jim Sedam's boat out of Madison, Indiana. Meanwhile, up the backstretch, Earl Hall's opened up about a 4-boat length lead over the Atlas Van Lines, but here comes Chip Hanauer. Right now, that is, Jim, that is less than a half a second lead for Earl Hall.
Well, you know, as you look at the red boat leading the Squire Shop with the rookie Earl Hall, and on the inside, the national defending champion in the Atlas Van Lines, Chip Hanauer. Chip Hanauer started boat racing at the age of 9 in a special child's class out in Seattle. He's been racing about 20 years. Here they come, as they come down now, almost side by side, the red boat. The Squire Shop still showing a slight lead on lane number 3.
Chip Hanauer on the inside there, Earl Hall on the outside. It's amazing that this Atlas boat is even in the race. That entire right side of the deck exploded into flames yesterday during a testing run, and that crew worked for 24 straight hours and got on the course about 5 minutes before testing concluded here today. But meanwhile, Earl Hall and the Squire Shop has had a heck of a week. They haven't had any problems at all, and everything's run their way here this week.
We had some dark smoke coming off the right bank of the Atlas Van Lines on overload. Maybe it was the nitrous oxide, but he really is trying to step off of corner number 2 now, and you get a good shot of Chip Hanauer in the Atlas as they come up the back chute. You can see that white water. He's looking at it. He's looking at the rooster tail of the boat he's trying to catch as they come and pull about side by side to come down here and complete lap number 3. Now they hang it on the hook. You can see the rooster tail start to come up off that left side where the skid fin is, and they're almost side by side as they come down in the pit area and come back toward us for the completion of lap number 3.
And we're side by side here again. Chip Hanauer's out in front now, Jim.
We can see that damage if you look, the blue and white paint job of Atlas Van Lines scorched from that minor explosion that you talked about earlier, Sam. In fact, Sam Cole had a chance to talk to the driver about that explosion earlier today.
Chip, a year ago on this very beach, we talked about your crew building a boat in 100 days. Well, they rebuilt a boat in about 24 hours. What about that?
Well, as soon as we come to Miami, we're always rebuilding something. And unfortunately, yesterday we went out for the first run of the day, and we had fuel vapor under the deck, and it got ignition from a fuel pump spark, and we blew the whole right side of the deck off. So they were up all night replacing that deck.
5 minutes before the course closed for pre-race testing, you got out on there, and the boat seemed to look pretty good.
The boat's handling very well. It's not going exceptionally fast. We didn't set any records here. You know, last year the record was 126 here. We're the fastest at 121. So everybody's speed's a little bit depressed, but at least the boat's handling. I think we can run close to that speed in the race.
A year ago, we also talked about the Bill Munsey legacy, the fact that this was a new team. Well, after the first start of the first heat today, that year's passed. Do you feel that the Hanauer Atlas era is beginning?
Well, you know, Bill's always going to be a part of our team. You know, the reason we're still here is in Bill's memory, and as long as Atlas Van Lines races, Bill's going to be with us. But last year was a memorable year, but that's forgotten. You know, yesterday's home run doesn't win today's ball game, and it's a whole new ball game. The Budweiser's faster than ever. The Squire Shop, the new boat, the Renault, Miss Madison Rich Plan is unbelievably fast and consistent this year. So it's a whole new ball game.
A fine young man, Chip Hanauer. As he talked to Sam Cole earlier, he has now taken about a 7-boat length lead over the second place Squire Shop, and he'll be on his way to the bank with 400 more points, and that'll give him a perfect 800 for the day and qualify him for the final here in the Champion Spark Plug Regatta, Miami's Marine Stadium. As they come now shaking loose, here's your second place boat, the Squire Shop. As our leader now comes down to take the checker flag. With the city of Miami in the background, what a beautiful sight, a rooster tail, and Chip Hanauer takes the checker flag for first place. Second place goes to the Squire Shop in a fine battle, almost deck to deck for about 4.5 laps. The Squire Shop with Earl Hall was second. The Tostiasti with Todd Yarling will be overall third. back with our final heat of preliminary action in just a moment. A good crowd on hand here now for the final elimination heat before we get to the final for the grand prize Champion Spark Plug Regatta. Sam Cole, here at Heat 2B, how about the entries?
Okay, Jim, we've got the U12. That's the Miss Budweiser, driven by Jim Kropfeld out of Cincinnati, Ohio. The American Speedy Printing Special, owned by Bob Taylor out of Houston, Texas. That's the U40. The U10, the Miss Pure Delight, and Bobby Howard. And the Executone U8, driven by George Johnson. All 4 boats on the race course, Jim, and they're all heading up that backstretch for the start here of Heat 2B.
And leading the way is American Speedy Printing. Following with Pure Delight, Miss Budweiser, and also the Executone. They're all going up now to corner number 3, heading in a westerly direction. This course runs east and west. We are on the south end of the course. And these boats will pass within 25 to 30 feet of us, and the roar of the engines will no doubt drown us out. We're getting down now to 7 seconds of the start of this race as the clock is running. On the inside is American Speedy Printing. Coming out wide is Miss Budweiser, followed by Pure Delight and the Executone. There's the gun, and here they come. And on the outside will be Miss Budweiser and Speedy Printing. Kropfeld takes the Budweiser over to corner number 1 for the first time. Executone is giving chase. As they go down to corner number 1, Sam Cole.
Jim, Fred Leland out of Seattle's got everything going pretty good in the American Speedy Special. He's on the inside. Jimmy Kropfeld has a lot more horsepower in Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser. He may just be saving equipment as he brings it out of there. And they're going to, looks like the guys are going to play a little cat and mouse out there as they go up that backstretch. Kropfeld in the lead, and Fred Leland making a heck of a run here in second place in the beautiful American Speedy Special.
Well, you know, they're not going to stretch any engines because now this is the final elimination heat. They'll take the 5 top point getters out of the 9 boats, and they will run for the big money. Speedy Printing right there, driven by Fred Leland from the Seattle area. Giving chase to Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser, driven by Cincinnatian Jim Kropfeld. And there he is. His rooster tails as he bounces now, and now he'll shake it loose, stab it, get on the nitrous oxide, and come on down to complete lap number 1.
And as he goes by Jim Kropfeld is our new leader in the National High Point chase. Fred Leland putting in a good show there in Bob Taylor's boat. As they came down for the start, Bobby Howard got up in traffic up there, nearly spun around the Miss Pure Delight. He's running in 3rd place as he goes by right here. And then George Johnson bringing up the tail in Executone. But Jim Kropfeld and Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser, our National High Point leader right now with a perfect 1,200 points over the 2 races.
Well, they had 800 points the first race because they did not start, so they couldn't really be considered perfect. They had 800 points. The 2 that he started, he won, and he won today is the 3rd, so this will be his 4th straight heat that he has won with an official start. Our boats are now pretty well spread out as Jim Kropfeld comes around to the pit area. And you know, right now, you got to know that Bernie Little is one happy guy. He wants to, of course, have his boat win anything it can. This is his hometown area. As the Budweiser comes by us. Earlier today, we talked to team owner Bernie Little about his anxieties and his excitement on race day. Bernie, hometown race for all it's worth. This has to make you extra nervous.
Yes, it does, Jim. I think I got up this morning nervous. Miss Budweiser has been encountering its problems here in the last couple days of qualifying, and of course this is the 2nd race for our new driver, Jim Kropfeld, and when you look over this 1 2/3 course with 7,000 pounds doing 170 miles an hour, and you look at the end of that island and you know you got to turn, that's got to give you a few sleepless hours.
The carburation, there's been some problems in camp because of the cool waters up at Lake of the Ozarks as compared to here where it's more humidity. That's giving you problems.
Well, that's what we've said, you know, but really, yeah, you've got about 85, 87% humidity here today, and of course you have to correct for that. And because I think most of the boats inject water and methanol, and when you're taking the water out of the air, you don't need to take it out of the tank. But we've had just little things that's been not shaping up, but we're ready to go racing today.
And his boat, the Miss Budweiser, comes off of corner number 2. Now with an extensive lead over the 2nd place boat, American Speedy, and of course the Pure Delight is also up there in that battlefield, as is the, let's check that boat, Sam, as they come by.
That's the Executone, Jim. Fred Leland in 2nd place right now, and Bob Taylor's American Speedy Printing. Bobby Howard coming up now in the Miss Pure Delight. On his inside, the Executone. Here we see Fred Leland. Now there's Bobby Howard and George Johnson inside and outside going down into that turn.
You're talking about the Pure Delight. Bobby Howard spun it out just as he went into corner number 1. He did that in practice and did a complete 360. Tried to take it too tight in practice earlier this week.
Right. That's the green flag lap that time for Jim Cropfeld. He's on the checkered flag lap right now aboard Bernie Little's beautiful Miss Budweiser. And a win here today would bring the Budweiser Company and Atlas Van Lines tied again for corporate victories in unlimited hydroplane history. Budweiser number 2 right now, but they'll be back in number 1.
And Speedy continues now to hold second place as he goes down the corner number 3. But a whole 3/4 of a lap lead for the Miss Budweiser. So we'll place them for you. The Budweiser first, Speedy Printing second, Pure Delight third, and the Executone with George Johnson is fourth. Sam will, of course, tally all the points, and at the conclusion of this heat, tell us exactly who is in the final. 5 fastest boats for the final of the day. Green flag now for Speedy Printing. He comes by. And green flag also for Pure Delight and the Executone, and the checker flag will come out now. Here's your leader and your winner for the second straight time today for this Budweiser with Jim Cropfeld and Bernie Little, Miss Budweiser.
That's the second heat win for Jim Cropfeld here today. Had a pretty good year. His 4 starts, 4 finishes thus far. That gives him 1,600 points. Right now, the battle's going to be for second and third place. Fred Leland seems to have second place pretty well going his way right now, but George Johnson's making a strong challenge on Bobby Howard in the Miss Pure Delight as they go up the backstretch. Here's Jim Cropfeld and the Miss Budweiser, our winner in this heat. And as they go up there, George Johnson is overtaken Bobby Howard for third place.
A battle for second as George Johnson has now got less than a half a lap to go. He needs those 300 points to qualify for the finale. He's bouncing through some rough water. This is a very important finish for George Johnson, the Executone people, as Bobby Howard is going to be on his hip. Now let's watch him. Speedy Printing will come in and take second place.
Here comes Fred Leland right now. He's our second place finisher here.
And it's going to be Executone third, and Pure Delight will be overall fourth.
And Bobby Howard suffered some wing damage. The fairings on the wings were ripped loose as he went by there. But our final order of finish, the Miss Budweiser the winner, American Speedy Printing second, Executone third, and the Miss Pure Delight takes fourth place.
And here's your final field. Miss Budweiser, the Atlas Van Lines, tied with 800 points. The Square Shop with 600. American Speedy Printing, 525. And Pure Delight with 469. Those are your 5 top boats that will run for the top prize money here in the Champion Spark Plug Regatta. For the Champion Spark Plug Regatta, this is the final. No matter what points they accrued in the preliminary heats, it is going to be the order of finish. Winner take all to the checker flag. And the 5-boat field is on the course. Sam, how about running down our finalists?
Jim, there's the Tostiasti and Todd Yarling, owned by Jim Saddam out of Madison, Indiana. Going through turns 3 and 4 right now. As you see on the screen is the Atlas Van Lines, driven by Chip Hanauer. Out of Seattle, Washington, the boat is owned by Fran Muncie. Our next competitor, the U12, the Miss Budweiser, owned by Bernie Little, who won last year's race here. Rookie driver Jim Cropfeld in the field here today. He's won 2 of our elimination heats. Our 4th boat, another rookie, Earl Hall out of Hampton, Virginia, aboard the U2. That's Bob Stiles Squire Shop. And our 5th starter here will be the Miss Pure Delight, driven by Bobby Howard, the only Florida entry in today's race, and that boat is blue and white, numbered U10.
Now, a lot of racing takes place right here. They're going to psych each other out. They have to fight for the lane they want. I believe Budweiser will want lane 1. Atlas Van Lines will probably pick lane 2. Squire Shop lane 3 or 4, and they'll fill out the field toward the shoreline that way. Agree?
And as you're right, Jim, you've called it just right. As they go up there, you've got Jim Cropfeld blowing water real slow as he heads into that turn. Chip Hanauer is behind everyone else, and off to Cropfeld's right is Earl Hall as he leads the field into that turn. Hall's going to be up in first right now as they come down for the start, but he's going to take that boat way, way wide to eat up some time as Earl Hall and Bob Stiles Squire Shop leads the field down to the starting line here for this, the Champion Spark Plug Regatta.
Less than 10 seconds. They're going to be just about on the money. It is Budweiser lane 1, Atlas Van Lines lane 2 on the outside, the Square Shop. There's your 3 boats up on top with Pure Delight and Tostiasti following the field. As they dive down the corner number 1, it looks like it may be Atlas, but look out for that Budweiser and that spray, Sam.
As you see the water coming off of the huge skid fins on these boats, it's Jim Cropfeld and Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser bringing it off turn 2, heading it up the backstretch, and he fishtailed it just a little bit there. These guys have everything hanging out in this heat with Hanauer about a second and a half behind as he goes up the backstretch here on lap 1.
The wind has picked up here, and the boats are riding a little looser than they were in the preliminary heats as Jim Cropfield in the Budweiser goes down the corner number 3, and you can see our second place boat just coming in. That is the Atlas Van Lines into his rooster tail spray. He hangs it on the hook, the wall of water, about a ton or so. He bounces through some slop, shakes it loose, and now comes down to complete lap number 1. And Sam, get a time clock on him.
And as Jim Cropfield brings Miss Budweiser across the line at the end of lap 1, his speed 118.810 miles an hour in Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser, but Chip Hanauer isn't giving up. He's right behind Cropfield as they dive into that first turn here on the second lap.
And you saw the Cropfield boat, Miss Budweiser, come right up on its right sponson, and boy, I saw the bottom half of that boat. He better watch out. It's getting a little windy, as is really the case here. Late in the afternoon, the wind comes out of the east, swirls around the stadium, and they could be in trouble. Right now, Cropfield comes down toward corner number 3. He's got 1.5 lap in, 3.5 laps to go. Right now, he just has to keep it in the engine housing.
That's right, and as he takes it through turn 3 right there, no driver in this heat has ever won on this race course here before. It's a new course to all 5 drivers, but no one's giving any ground here as Jim Cropfield and the Miss Budweiser lead here on lap number 2, and whoa, he gets a little bit of air there and takes off, Jim.
Yes, he is loose on the front end, as we said, and right now he doesn't know, but he's now got about 4.5 second lead over this boat. The Atlas Van Lines currently riding in second place with Chip Hanauer at the wheel.
Cropfield's lap speed on number 2 was 114.280. He slowed down a tick, but Hanauer's not giving up any ground. Cropfield has lapped the Miss Tostiasti as he went into that turn, and now he's setting his sights on Bobby Howard and the Pure Delight, and as you saw that, he cut through the rooster tail with the Miss Pure Delight, and he's going to put a lap on Mr. Howard right now.
He does. So first place is the Miss Budweiser. Second place is the Atlas Van Lines. Third place would be
the Squire Shop and Earl Hall, 26-year-old rookie out of Hampton, Virginia, driving out of Seattle for Bob Style. But Mr. Cropfield on his way to the bank. He's driven 2 races here on ESPN, Jim. He ran out of gas in Houston a year ago. His boat failed to start in Lake of the Ozarks 2 weeks ago, but right now he's on his way to the bank if everything can hold together.
And he has 2 more laps to go, and he's now opened up about a 7.5-second lead over the Atlas Van Lines. Squire Shop third. Fourth place is the Pure Delight with Bobby Howard, and fifth place is the Tostiasti. And as our fourth place boat goes in the corner number 1, our leader, Miss Budweiser, with Jim Cropfield, shakes it loose off of corner number 2, stabs it to the left, and starts down the back chute once again.
And Jim, his speed on lap number 3 was 110.290 miles an hour. Cropfield heading up the backstretch. Hanauer giving chase in the Atlas Van Lines.
Uh-oh, look out. We just saw that boat almost go sideways. The Atlas Van Lines, he had to recover, and this is going to cost Chip Hanauer some valuable seconds in trying to catch this boat, the leader, Miss Budweiser.
That's right. You know, as Jim Cropfield brings the Miss Budweiser out of turn number 4, he has been holding the same lead over Hanauer for about 3.5 laps. Hanauer lost all the time he had held on to right there because Cropfield's on his way to the winner's circle for the first time as an unlimited driver.
He's had many, many race wins in limited driving. You know he wants this one very bad. He's just taken the green flag. He's 1 more lap to go, and he'll bring the first win in about a year to Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser team, and his first victory, as you said, Sam, in unlimited.
That's right. Chip Hanauer's back in the chase, but not because Jim Cropfeld's lap 4 speed was 112.360 miles an hour. He ran out of gas in Houston, Texas a year ago. His boat didn't start in Missouri, the first race of the '83 season, but right now he's on his way to the bank as Earl Hall brings Bob Style Squire Shop down here, and here's Bobby Howard, our 4th place boat. Hall's about to put another lap on the Squire.
Here's our leader. Hearing gremlins, no doubt, as we've said many times before. He's coming to the apex of corners number 3 and 4. He strakes it down, and he's going to come down the straightaway, come close to the stands. The checker flag is waiting for Miss Budweiser, Jim Cropfield. He waves to the crowd. He knows he's got his first victory as an unlimited driver, and what a feeling that must be.
Oh, it's got to be sensational. He's 43 years old, out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He was the 1982 Unlimited Rookie of the Year. Here's our second place boat, the Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer. And you know, from the conversation we had earlier with him here today on ESPN, you know he's got to be happy because his crew worked all night just to get in this race.
How's the final order finish, Sam?
Okay, Jim, our winner will be the Miss Budweiser, driven by Jim Cropfield. Second place will be the Atlas Van Lines, driven by Chip Hanauer. In third, it'll be the Squire Shop and Earl Hall. Fourth place will go to the Miss Pure Delight and Bobby Howard out of Cape Coral, Florida. 5th place will be the Miss Tostiasti from Madison, Indiana. And in 6th will be the American Speedy Printing Center Special.
Who did not make this final for some mechanical reasons. The Tostiasti was the alternate, and he got into the race again.
Well, that's right, Jim. We're going to name that boat Tosti Alternate because every time we have a race here on ESPN, the Tosti makes it into the final heat.
Okay, our leader is now coming back toward the pits. The boats are wrapping it up, taking a cool-off lap. Our happy driver and crew will be making their way toward our ESPN microphones very shortly as he takes a parade lap and waves to the crowd. There he is, Jim Kropfeld, the victor in this, the Champion Spark Plug Regatta. Pretty good omen to start out this way.
Well, that's right, Jim. This is our home state, and Miami is my second home. And we have many, many fans here, and there's nothing I wanted more than to Jim bring the Budweiser in first, and he did.
We talked before, earlier in this program, while the boats were running, how nervous you get and how anxious you get. Did you stop up and down the dock while he was running?
Yeah, I'm glad he can't hear me. I kept telling him to slow down. I think he did a great job, and we're just really pleased to be in the winner's circle, and I look for a lot more of them with Jim.
Well, okay, because now the competition is picked up. We expected this battle a couple of weeks ago in the season opener, and it didn't develop.
Well, it almost developed, and we had a little minor problem. I think that we've corrected that, and I don't think it'll happen again.
Okay, Sam Cole, here's the guy that's won his first race in unlimited hydroplane racing.
That's right, Jimmy, and you know, it was a perfect start out there. They say if you get the inside and you get to the line on time, you're going to win, and that's what happened there today.
That's the name of the ball game when you're running against Atlas van lines. You have to have the inside majority of the time, although I think we have speed on the Atlas. But on this race course with the tight turns, we're a lot heavier than the Atlas, so we're at a disadvantage, really, if it was an even boat out and out. But with us on the inside, we had the definite advantage today.
What about Jim Kropfeld? Our ESPN viewers at home have shared some of your misfortunes here. Houston, Texas last year, Missouri a couple of weeks ago. They're sharing probably your proudest moment in boat racing.
Well, I hope so. This is really I'm so honored to be here and so proud to win for Budweiser and to help Budweiser get back in a winning track. Like they said, it's been a year, so this is the start of a new deal for Budweiser this year. We're going to get them all.
Okay, we want to congratulate you, Jim, on your first victory at Unlimiteds, and of course, Bernie, back in the winner's circle, and competition's going to be keen this year.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a tough year, and there's going to be a lot of really good racing on the Unlimited circuit. We're really looking forward to it.
And you're going to see a lot of action of top thunderboat racing right here on ESPN. For Sam Cole, Jim Kropfeld, Bernie Little, I'm Jim Hendrick. So long.